Oh, there we go. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today. My name is Sam Guillen. I am really excited to do this. This is for the website called Smart Savvy Agent, a website that's designed to provide resources and great tools for all of the realtors that may be watching it or subscribing to it. So I'm happy to be doing this. This is the kind of an offshoot of our Ask Sam Guillen show. We don't do that show live. We actually record that show and we post it to my YouTube channel. And I believe Smart Savvy Agent is also now going to be posting some of those videos as well. You can find me at samguillen.com. That's SAMGUILLEN.com. And I know that a lot of you that may be watching this, either the recorded version or the live version, know that a lot of times when you watch these types of shows or these types of webinars, they're often filled with lots of sales pitches trying to get you to buy products, trying to get you to take certain action. And the only action that we're going to actually ask you to take today as a real estate agent is to go out and sell more property. Is to go out and find more people to sell properties to through service and through just being a great person. So there's nothing to buy here. We're not going to try to pitch you on anything. We're just trying to provide great content for you. So today I am proud to have two people on with me that I have a lot of respect for in kind of two ends of the spectrum. And one is from Canada, from Canada. Edmonton, I'm even saying that wrong. Edmonton, Canada, and the other is from beautiful San Diego, and that's where I'm at. So first, I'd like to welcome, and I always butcher her last name, Melinda Chisolm. Is that correct, Melinda?
It's actually Leigh Ann.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why does it say Melinda here? I'm like reading the screen. I don't know why you have Melinda on the screen. I'm so sorry.
I wonder if I'm under her Google account if she got onto my computer.
Aha, got it. Sorry. And I should know better because you're Leigh Ann. I mean, I'm so sorry. Well, it doesn't get any more authentic than that. You see how I butchered that? Um, and of course, Jeff. Let me unmute your mic here, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here. Okay, so let's just dive right into it. This is a Q&A show, but I also know that both of these agents are great agents. So just a quick background. Leigh Ann, and I keep looking at Melinda on the screen. Leigh Ann, tell us really quickly a little bit about you, where you're from, your marketplace. Give us your website. Even if you want to give out a phone number, you can do that as well. Tell us a little bit about you.
Most definitely. Thanks, Sam. Now, my marketplace is extremely good. We have a lot of expireds. We have a lot of for sale by owners. We have a lot of transactions, and we don't have a lot of real estate agents. There's about a 10-to-1 ratio of the number of transactions, the listings that are taken every year to the number of agents in my marketplace. There's so much opportunity out there for me. I'm with Remax Real Estate, which is the biggest brokerage in Canada. And my website, if you wanted to check it out, is www.leighanne.ca, and that's LEIGHANNE.ca.
Excellent. And Leigh Ann, how long have you been in the business now?
I haven't been in the business very long, to be honest. I got my license in 2011, and actually, Sam, I believe you and I met in probably November of 2011. And I have to say, meeting you is really what changed my career. I've had coaches, but our little chat in the hallway is just what made a huge difference.
I appreciate that, and I remember that very clearly. And for those of you listening, watching this, what Leigh Ann is referring to is one of the coaching companies, one of the largest coaching companies in the world. I used to work for, and we used to host live events where people from all over the country, actually in some cases all over the world, would travel to have a couple of days of coaching and live prospecting and it was really a great event. And I think Leigh Ann was there working her tail off, but we found ourselves in the hall because, like all of us, was going through a moment, and we stopped and we kind of brought our heads together and spent a lot of good quality time to get to the next place in our emotions, if you will, to move forward. So I appreciate, Leigh Ann, you ever since that day. It was a big day, wasn't it? Big day for us.
Most definitely.
Jeff, yeah, Jeff. So tell us a little bit about yourself. We know you're from
Sure.
San Diego, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm new to the real estate business. Prior to joining the industry, I was in sales and marketing, various different opportunities, some small business consulting. And in San Diego, it's quite the opposite from Leigh Ann's experience. Our inventory is essentially slim to none, and we have about 20,000 realtors going after the inventory. So it's been quite a challenge, but smart, savvy agent, and you've provided some great value to me to help my transition.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. Jeff, when did you actually get licensed? Remind me.
October of last year, I got my license, and then started visiting the different brokerages, interviewing different branch managers to figure out what the best fit was for me, and really launched my career in the real estate industry in January.
Great. And for everybody watching, that's where I initially met Jeff, and we working for the same company. I'm on the leadership team there at the company where Jeff works at, and we were able to develop a relationship. And it was in January that you and I started working together. I began coaching in January, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, very good. And so, to date, and I've got to brag about you, Jeff, if I can. To date, first 12 months in the business, almost here, you're just at I think a little under 9 or 10 million in open and closed transactions. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're close to that.
Yeah, very, very good. So, so let's get into some questions, guys. So Jeff, let's start with you, and Leigh Ann, if you can think of one. So Jeff, I know that you posted on my Twitter page the other day about a scenario where you're dealing with, I believe, on one of your listings, that you have a neighbor with multiple Harleys, right, or something like that. Can you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, it's a pretty ideal situation. I have a fixer-upper on the market, and it's priced pretty up there. And the next door neighbors are millionaires that don't actually care about their home. So it's quite run down, weeds about 5 feet high in the front yard, and they have 3 Harleys that they clean in their front yard every single weekend and allow the engines to rev for about 30 minutes. So it's pretty fun, and it's scared off a few of the prospects. And I was hoping to get some advice from you on ways to overcome that.
Well, that is certainly a challenge. Many people don't take into account that the desirability of a home, often can weigh on who your neighbors are, right? I mean, because there's probably some people watching that have had the nightmare neighbor, right? So I get it. I get why that's certainly a challenge for you. Now, have you had any conversations with those neighbors at all?
Yeah, prior to taking the listing, I went over and introduced myself to them and did a little bit of digging to see if they were interested in selling their home first. And then secondly, I asked them if we could cut some of the bushes that were obstructing my listing's ocean view. And I was told that I'd have to pay them 10 grand because it would increase the value of our listing.
Wow.
He wasn't joking.
So they're wow.
The bushes are still there.
Wow. Okay. And so these are not people that are necessarily cooperative or even good neighborly, right?
It's been a challenge.
Okay, very good. All right, so that's frankly, my advice to you is going to be, you do everything that you possibly can to try to win them over. I know that you have that skill. Clearly, you've demonstrated it. by selling the amount of real estate that you've sold in your very first year in your business. And really that's going to be the key for you, is being as persuasive as you possibly can. But the reality comes down to is that sellers sometimes have to realize that there are some external obsolescence, right? That's a word back from your real estate principles course, where something out of your control, something within the neighborhood is uh, affecting the property. And so I think at some particular point in time, the sellers are going to have to realize that if they can't get that under control, I don't know that there's much that you can do from a legal standpoint, and taking that approach is only going to exacerbate the problem, frankly.
Sure.
So I think there's two things that you need to be persuasive on. One, you need to try to be as persuasive as you can with those neighbors and try to figure out all of the different things that you can do, maybe being of service to them, maybe figuring out a way to do something that doesn't cost you $10,000 to be able to do for them to win them over. I know that you probably explored that. But the other persuasiveness that you're going to have to work on is persuading the sellers to recognize the reality that they're in, right?
Well, and to touch on that, not only that, but also the potential buyers that are coming in and seeing that. And so what we ultimately did was we put together a nice Harley-Davidson care package, and went over and visited the neighbors and just let them know that it would help out a lot if they decided to clean their Harleys after 4 p.m. when my open houses were finished, and that I'd let them know when we had important meetings at the house, and they would do their best to not put the Harleys out front. So we came to a mutual understanding, and hopefully they keep their promise.
That's great, and you can also leverage some of your known resources as well. Like I forget the gentleman's name, but I think you and I both know him. He's a Harley enthusiast, but he has Chopper the dog, right? That's really
Sure.
popular. Where Chopper goes around. Chopper's this dog here in San Diego. It's a Harley dog, but he's also a therapeutic dog where he goes to wounded veterans and things like that, and tries to provide and goodwill to people around the Harley brand. And that might be an opportunity for you as well, is to bridge some leverages, right? Bridge some commonalities in there, given that, or go out and buy a Harley and roll up
Right?
to the Harley and ask them to ride with you.
I don't know if they're puppy lovers, but I'll keep dropping off Harley swag to them.
Sounds really good. Leigh Ann, do you have anything to add to that? Have you ever been in one of those circumstances?
Well, fortunately, no, I have not been in one of those circumstances. Nothing like that, I'm afraid. No.
Well, you're lucky, actually. You're lucky, right? That's so, Leigh Ann. So tell us a little bit about what's going on. What are some challenges or some battles that you're facing right now?
Well, not necessarily a battle that I'm facing, Sam, but something that I think might be very valuable to be discussing. I was in a training meeting actually with my office this past week, and one of the agents asked me, and I gave her my advice, but I'd be interested to hear your perspective. She's working, or she's got friends that are currently looking for a home. They've been looking for a home for about 6 months now. When they find something they're interested in, they call her, they say, "Hey, Brianna, can we get some information on this house?" And then when they go to see it, they call the listing agent. How
Yes.
can she get them to work with her, was her question.
So that's that's a common problem. It's actually I don't know, Jeff. It's probably comforting for a lot of people in San Diego that think that problem is exclusive to Southern California, right? And so they're having the same problem in Canada, right? Where so yeah, let's analyze first why a buyer would even do that, right? So typically this happens in a market where there's really tight inventory, right? Because maybe they've been in multiple offer situations and they've lost out, and they feel like they're trying to look for an opportunistic edge, or an edge that allows them to cut through some of the clutter and cut through some of the competition to be able to get a house, right? So that is one of the concerns. And then you just have opportunistic type of people that just think that they're going to get a better deal by simply going to the listing agent and hope that the listing agent, because they're going to make more money, is actually going to prioritize them over anybody else or give them inside information that they don't know. Now, the reality is that the unfortunate reality is that we all know that not all practitioners are created equal, right? And there's probably anecdotal evidence out there that supports that somebody can gain an edge that way because maybe a listing agent is not representing their client to the fullest and will be more concerned with their pocketbook rather than the highest and best offer for the seller, right?
Mhm.
So that would be one of my presentation topics to the buyers when I initially meet them, right? And it essentially saying and this goes back, and Leigh Ann, you've been trained this way, and this goes back to making sure that you properly interview or properly present to a buyer from right from the get-go, right? And be willing to ask some of the very difficult questions that most agents won't ask, right?
Mhm.
Like, if you're driving around a neighborhood and you happen to see a sign, what do you think that you're likely? What do you think your instinct will be? Is to call that sign, or if you and I had a relationship, would it be to call me first? And I've said this to some agents to say to their buyers, and they say, well, why would I even want to put that in the mind of the buyer? Even think about calling the listing agent. Why don't I just assume that I have that relationship? Well, it's very similar to us asking a seller, have you ever thought about selling your home yourself? Right? We
Mhm.
do that not because we're trying to implant something in their head, but simply to gather more information to understand what their thought process is. Right? I'd rather know now that they're not really loyal, or they're not or I haven't demonstrated enough value yet for them to be loyal to me. I'd rather know the answer to that on day one rather than 6 months in the road after I've had them in my car all of that time, right? So I think the answer to that first is in your presentation, Leigh Ann, is what you can share with them. And you know this, so I appreciate you asking the question though, is tighten up that presentation. Be willing to ask the difficult questions that are going to spark up these conversations, right? And then I would explain the benefit and the concern that buyers should have by going directly to the listing agent, right?
Mhm.
And and simply say to that buyer, you know, if you go direct with the listing agent, there is a possibility that the listing agent will be operating in their best interest, not necessarily in yours. And which would you prefer? Would you prefer to have somebody whose only job is to work for you, or would you rather have somebody whose principal job, because they've been hired and are contractually obligated to represent the seller, but secondarily they're also doing this because they know they're going to make more money, and so you're really third in the pecking order of where my focus will be, right? And I really think it's going to be in that place. So she may need to re-interview. She may need to, say, hey, you know what? Let's re-strategize. We haven't been able to win any houses or any offers, so let's grab some coffee. Let's sit down and essentially re-present, re-interview, go through that process, and then she gets to decide based on the answers, based on their interaction, whether she wants to continue working with them.
Most definitely, Sam. See, the thing is, she hadn't even done a buyer's meeting with them. They just
Right.
call her, she gives information, and they move on from there. So that's what I suggested to her as well, is get that meeting.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up because I say it over and over and over again. Agents, don't start working before you're hired. It's so common for us to get a lead, and because we're so excited that we have that lead, we go out and start working before we're even hired. And
Hmm.
it often uh, ends up being not only a large waste of time, but it ends up being an emotional drain on you, because you can't help but go to this place, that dark deep place in you that says, what's wrong with me? Why won't these people be loyal to me? And the reality is that not everybody's going to be that way. And through the efforts of prospecting on a regular basis and lead generating on a regular basis, you're simply going to find more people that believe what you believe. And when you find people that believe what you believe and have the similar principles, it makes it so much easier to be able to serve them.
Most
So,
definitely.
right, right. Jeff, any
And,
take on that?
well, go ahead.
I was more curious in hearing the opposite end of the spectrum. So when you are the listing agent and you get that call, and the buyer says, "But I already have an agent," what techniques should the listing agent be using to try to double end the deal?
That's an interesting perspective. So I think there's two things, right? There's two things there. As a listing agent, I think too often agents take an overly position of power in the marketplace, right? And it ultimately works against them, because let's face it, whether you're in Canada or you're here in the US, a large, I would venture to guess, as a whole, more than 9 out of 10 properties sell through other real estate agents that work in collaboration through MLS systems, through whatever it may be, right? And so you all know these people in your marketplace, where you see their new listing in the MLS and you say, oh my gosh, I hate that guy. That guy's like super shady, and you do everything you can to try to avoid it. And unfortunately, you can't always, as a buyer's agent, because today's MLS data is so syndicated that the clients get all the information right away. And so, and then you also see agents that show up with new listings in the MLS that you say, I want to do everything I can to try to sell that property because I love working with that agent, right? And people work just a little harder because they know that they're going to have a great transaction with you, and they communicate that to their clients. So I think there's two things going there. We are in a competitive industry, and I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't be competitive. Um, what I would do is I would ask effective questions first, right? So when you do get that lead and that sign call that comes in, I would simply begin asking things like, so tell me how long you've been looking for a home. Great. How's that going? How many offers have you submitted? Why do you think that you have not won any of those offers? Great. And usually through answering those or asking those questions, the answers will begin leading you to whether or not there's an opportunity to develop a relationship with that person. If and it's okay to even ask who are you working with, right? And if they're absolutely dissatisfied with their agent, and it's your listing, and not an agent that you know and trying to maintain a relationship with, then yeah, I would explore an opportunity to try to capture that business. But I think, Jeff, too often it's a more of a short-sighted view, and I know that you're not like this. I appreciate you posing the question though, because you have the majority of your business over the last 12 months have been listings, which is awesome. And so these are problems of a very productive listing agent, so it's really cool. But I think sometimes trying to always capture that client as a listing agent may not always pay off for you in the long run, right? One of the things I always love to do is I always love to put in the MLS, in the agent confidential remarks, friendly listing agent. I will answer the phone. Feel free to call me anytime. Those types of things, because that little bit of camaraderie in the marketplace can really go a long way. But with that said, be good, be savvy enough to figure out how to capture an opportunity when there's an opportunity, not steal an opportunity unnecessarily. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, very good. And Leanne, you were about to say something earlier.
Oh,
Oh,
doesn't
doesn't
ring a bell right now.
ring a bell
Sorry.
right now.
No problem. No, no problem. I appreciate that. So one last question, and we're right about that time now, right about half hour, and I really want to be respectful of all of your times because I know you're going to have a very productive weekend. So let me ask you this: we often get a lot of questions about lead generation online. Leanne, are you having any success in terms of driving leads where you're actually creating face-to-face appointments with people online, or is it all offline opportunities?
I pretty much do offline opportunities, but I know that having switched brokerages from Remax one office to Remax another office, our brokerage actually seems to get a fair number of inquiries, but honestly, converting them generally not a very high rate. You know, people are looking for information. If they wanted to actually do something, they're going to pick up the phone and call. It's a matter of motivation. Do you want to work with someone that's not necessarily going to do something which takes your time away from finding that person that is looking and does want to do something now? So I don't really like online lead generation, to be honest.
Got it. Okay, very good. Jeff, how about yourself?
Majority of my business this year has come from pounding the pavement within my farm. But I know that most home
And when
buyers
you
are
you've been actually door knocking,
door
actually going door.
knocking, flyer dropping, visiting garage sales, estate sales, talking to neighbors, finding out about divorces, any opportunity possible to create a in for myself. But
And
with
just so everybody understands, what's your average sales price?
I don't have that figure exactly, but probably right around $1 million.
So for those of you that, and granted, we are in Southern California, we're in San Diego, where $500,000 gets you about a garage. Right? So it's we do have marketplaces that are 3, 4, 500,000. But for those of you that are thinking that you can't door knock in a high marketplace, Jeff does it every single day. So power to you. So talk to me. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just with mobile technology and the internet nowadays, my 2016 business plan has a large portion of my marketing budget allocated towards internet advertising. My background, my first job was as a telemarketer, so I feel comfortable that if I get a lead through, I might have a good percentage of converting them. And so that's a part of my business that I need to expand on because I haven't touched it at all this year.
Right. So one of the common, the reason I asked the question is because one of the common questions that I get, and I'm going to mute your mic, Jeff, just for a second, because there's some feedback coming there. One of the questions that I get a lot of is, is how to convert these online leads, because more and more brokerages, like Leanne's brokerage, they are generating leads online, and they are seeing, and let's qualify that they're generating prospects online. I don't know that they're necessarily generating bona fide leads online, and so but nonetheless, they're generating interest online and trying to be able to figure out how to convert that. So um, uh, we here, myself and specifically Smart Savvy Agent, are actually working currently on some how-tos and some workflows. What we're doing is we're studying people that are already doing a lot of online lead conversion, and we're starting not specifically with the real estate industry, but with the kind of online industry itself, into seeing what other people are doing to convert some of those leads. And then there's a lot of testing that we'll be doing in the real estate space to see if that is transferable. So the reason I asked the question was more to help me out, because we're currently examining and researching and trying to find smart and savvy ways, if you will, to provide solutions for realtors out there, because I know it's a big problem. I know that everybody uh, 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 wants online leads. They want to be able to generate this, but as Leanne says, doesn't have. Uh, they're not having a lot of good experience with them. They're not seeing a lot of great conversion with it. So, are either one of you using or subscribing to any type of lead system at all?
I've been paying for the Trulia Pro platform
Okay.
just to see what type of traction I can get from it. And this year I've received 5 leads. One of them resulted in a buyer's appointment, but ultimately they didn't end up qualifying when I connected them with a lender. And so when I've broken down the per lead price, I'm going to start exploring other avenues.
Got it. Okay. Leigh Ann?
Well, I think probably in the last month, even though that we're going into wintertime here and our market slows down, I think I've probably had about 5 leads through my Remax brokerage. And some are not giving their phone numbers. They really don't want to be contacted, just their email, because they need to get the information online. They have to give the email. If you contact them via email, they just don't get back to you. Even if you call them, they're just not that interested, not that motivated. So no, I don't subscribe because I just haven't found the value in our marketplace.
Got it. Got it. And so I'll leave you with this little bit of nugget that I have found through my research already, is that it, the phenomenon in our industry of the internet, which is rapidly changing our industry, is that people are starting their process of buying a home or selling their home uh, significantly sooner than they would have uh, pre-internet, right? Um, and they're beginning to do research. They're beginning to, go on to Zillow, go on to Truly or Realtor.com, all of these different places, and then randomly, click on things and looking for more information. And so I think one of the things that you can do to help in that process is to understand first that early on it's not about booking the appointment, which, Leigh Ann, that goes against everything that you and I have been trained on, is booking the appointment and booking the appointment. I think by making a small mindset shift and changing your process a little bit will go a long way by simply thinking, I need to provide value to them in a tangible way before actually asking for the appointment, because they may be super early on in their process, more so than I'm used to. And if I simply provide value through maybe a video library that I have of various steps, maybe I write a report, a white paper, and Leigh Ann, you would be phenomenal at this, is actually writing a case study of the buying process, or picking out very specific items, challenges that they should avoid. So when that lead comes through, you say, hey, thanks for contacting me. Here's the information that you were asking for. And by the way, while you're reading that, here's my top 5 challenges to avoid when looking to buy your home, right? And in the end, I know you're a phenomenal writer, and so you could provide some amazing content that will cause them to say, that's interesting, and I'm going to download that, and I'm going to take a look and read this, right? Rather than just leaning in and saying, oh, hey, thanks for getting in touch with me. Here's my email address. Here's my cell phone number. I'd love to sit down with you and review your needs and how I can best serve you. I don't know that the internet client is quite ready for that at that particular point in time. Does that make sense?
Sam, you would be surprised. That is exactly what it is that I've been working on these past few months. It's kept my production this year down, that I need to get going, and that's why I'm working with my mindset coach to be able to finish these off and not keep dragging my heels. But I agree with you completely. You hit the nail on the head, and that's what I think is going to drive my business in 2016.
So with that said, because I love you, Leigh Ann, is you just need to push it out now. Right? And I know you want to make it perfect. I know that's what you want to be able to do, but it will perfect itself through the service of others, not in your
Most
mind,
definitely.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So get it out. So can you make me a commitment that you will publish one of your case studies or whatever it is that you're doing, and I'd love to see it, send it to me, but I want you to publish it to the world second week in January. Can you do that? At least one piece.
Oh, They will be done before that. I've got 3 different ones coming.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Jeff, does that make sense for you? I know you and I are always working together, but does that make sense for you?
Absolutely.
All right, very good. So you don't get off the hook here either. So what is one thing that we can? I know for you, we just talked about the value of the lead, and any of you that are interested in hearing more about my opinion on the value of a lead, look for a blog post that'll be coming out really soon on Smart Savvy Agent. But have you actually taken time to figure out after our conversation about what your per lead value is?
I have not gotten to that yet, but it's on my to-dos for my 2016 business plan.
Okay, so can you make a commitment that
Sure.
first week in January, at the very least, you're going to send me a copy of what your per lead value is, so you can make
Sure.
a determination of how you're going to spend your money in 2016?
Absolutely. Thank you for holding me accountable.
All right, very cool. Well, guys, hey, thanks so much for participating in this first episode of Smart Savvy Saturdays. I hope that you saw some value in it. I love you both to death. You're awesome people. You're crazy for letting me get into your heads, but I appreciate that nonetheless. So why don't you give your website once again, and how can people get a hold of you, those people that may be watching this? Leigh Ann, go ahead.
Okay, well, again, my website is www.leighanne, it's leighanne.ca.
Very good, and we'll link that up in the notes of this recorded show, so look for that if you're in Edmonton, Canada. She is an amazing realtor. And Jeff, go ahead.
You can visit my website at jeffskatz.com. Katz is my last name. Email me at sold@jeffskatz.com. I'd love to connect with you about any referrals that you might have out here in beautiful San Diego.
Outstanding. Guys, thank you so much again, and have a productive weekend, okay?
You too.
All right, talk to you soon.